Hi, I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Aimee.
And you're listening to She Goes by Jane.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Aimee.
Vanessa, as we approach the holiday season, we talked a lot about how we didn't want any of our stories about missing and unidentified women to be lost in the holiday shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to create some special collaborations between my newsletter Girl Hunt and this podcast.
Yes, because we still wanted to have something up because I was thinking about all of the people maybe driving somewhere during the holidays and how, a lot of people like to listen to podcasts in the car. Mm-hmm. And I think your Girl Hunt stories are kind of perfect entertainment for that.
Right. I mean, they run the range from everything from book recommendations to thoughts on ethics. And this is, the case that I covered because I got obsessed with vintage mugshots.
Yes. I mean, I think you kind of unlocked a little vintage mugshot obsession in me too, because the quality of these, from the particular story that we're talking about today, it's the second half of the story of Dorothy Mort. Mm-hmm. They are really great. They are portraits.
Yeah. So basically what happened is New South Wales, they discovered this whole collection of mugshots and crime scene photos that were historical. And so now you can actually go and see some of them on display. And they are actual art pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we think of mugshots today as that, but there's the quality, the staging, the just framing of everything is really fascinating to me.
It's time capsules, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, so I apparently unlocked a desire in Vanessa to view some more. Mm-hmm. But I encourage everyone to kind of go and check them out. So Dorothy's mugshot is up on Girl Hunt Media, girlhuntmedia.com, and you can go see.
But it's just how her face is very somber, but she's got her hair is done, and she's in a white blouse with a little bow, tied around it. She's still put together.
Yeah,
it's just so.
And it's the framing of all of them, right? There's some of the women are coming from different backgrounds. Some of the women, and there are also male mugshots.
Yeah,
too,
I've always enjoyed a good mugshot, but most of the ones I see are the the male mugshots, an old mobster or something like that, and they're always fun and interesting to look at. But I don't know, just something about the way Dorothy's was done.
Yeah. Now, as a reminder for those catching up on where we were. We had been talking about 35-year-old woman named Dorothy Mort, upper middle class woman living in the suburbs outside Sydney, married mom of 2 children, right? And it's around 1919, 1920 that she starts exhibiting signs of severe depression, which were signs clear enough that her husband becomes concerned as those thoughts turn to suicide, right? So we do talk about suicidal ideation, and mental health in these episodes. Now, Dorothy's father had died by suicide shortly before this time period, and before his death, he had actually tried to annihilate his family, Dorothy's mother and brother.
Wow. Is that... what? So before...
Right.
Okay. Obviously before his death. How long before? Was...
a few years. So we're put a pin in it. We're going to come back to that. Okay. Now, her husband, Dorothy's husband, is really concerned for her health. And he does 2 things. He hires a woman named Florence to look after their house, though honestly, her real job was to keep an eye on Dorothy. Mm-hmm. And he also hires a new young doctor, Dr. Claude Tozier, and he thought Claude might be more abreast of current strategies in caring for mental health issues. So, cue Claude. Now, when Dorothy met Claude, she immediately found him attractive. She wrote some pretty steamy thoughts about him. He's considered a war hero, having survived World War I. He's fit, he's athletic, right? And after their first appointment, Claude does not have the same feelings. He goes home and he tells his mother, Beatrice, essentially, God save us from neurotic women, right? Mm-hmm. But soon a relationship of sorts builds between them, Claude and Dorothy, and they each write each other impassioned letters. It's clear that he asked her to leave her husband, and she was ready to do so, and she was fantasizing about having his children. But all that comes to an end in December when Claude told Dorothy that he was engaged to be married to another woman. Mm-hmm. And so soon after, Claude was called to the Mort household to take care of Dorothy, who had been bedridden for several days. Not long after, gunshots ring out through the house, and Florence goes to summon for help. When neighbors and authorities finally enter Dorothy's room, they find Claude dead from several gunshots and Dorothy in bed with a minor gunshot wound to the chest and having overdosed on laudanum. She survives. And we wrapped up last week's episode. We just finished discussing the details it revealed in the coroner's inquest, which was a trial to see if there was enough evidence to charge Dorothy with a crime. And the judge had just moved forward to charge her with murder. Now, Vanessa, I know you must have feelings about what is going on in this case.
I feel both bad for both of them, Claude and Dorothy, but I also feel like they're both kind of just awful people.
Yeah.
Claude is like, they're both very manipulative. They're not self-aware.
No.
Yes, she killed him, so obviously, poor Claude.
Right.
But also, she's going through a lot of mental health issues on her own, including the death of her father, so poor Dorothy.
Right.
And I think there's some level, I don't know, they're both manipulating each other, manipulating other people. Dorothy's actually literally getting away with murder.
Right.
I mean, she's still going through the trial and everything, but in the meantime, she's just like allowed to do whatever she wants, basically.
Everyone's very careful with Dorothy.
Very gentle with her.
Yeah. I mean, I said in the other episode, this one like kind of will challenge like your ideas of like who bears the burden of responsibility, right? Like, Claude clearly saw, I mean, I'm just supposing, but I feel like he saw her as kind of a mark, like he love bombs her, I feel like.
You think he's manipulating her for sex?
I think he's manipulating her for sex, yes.
And that's like his total motivation with like his love letters and stuff like that, where she actually did fall for him.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And at the same time, like, you know, he's using his position of power in her life, right, to manipulate her to get sex. Because, like, once he gets that, like, he's like, oh.
I found someone to marry.
Yeah. And she's like, what, we had plans, right?
Right, but she is, in the meantime, cheating on her husband.
Exactly.
And killing him and then trying to, like, try to make his mother forgive her for this.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty terrible, too.
Right. So she's, you know, called his mother to her bedside and is like, woe is me, you know.
This
and
is why I killed your son, now kiss me.
Beatrice just lost her son.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah, like forgive me.
Forgive me, give me a kiss. No. So I don't know. They're both, they're both awful. Beatrice seems awesome. We haven't talked about Dorothy's husband yet, but that man seems like a saint.
I mean, we don't hear much from him, honestly. I wish that like I could know more about
Well, like he's doing everything he can to like keep her comfortable, keep her taken care of, keep her well, and then this is happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's just like,
maybe he's boring. Maybe he's not as exciting as the doctor. I don't know.
Oh, they're like complete opposites.
But like, he seems consistent and caring.
Yeah. I mean, so this is just like a messy story. Right? Yeah. And you can see why, like, given all of this, why the newspapers at the time would just be like, this is going in every paper, right?
Yeah. So you said there was more to this story.
There's a lot more
and
to this
you also
story.
Promised me that we would hear about her dad.
Yes, we're going to hear about her dad. So let's get into going.
Yes.
Okay. So a month later, after she's been charged, like she's got to go to trial. Like April 7th, the trial actually begins. And despite the pouring rain, people waited outside in overcoats with umbrellas, hoping to gain entry to this trial.
So she's like a total celebrity at this point.
Yes.
And do we love her or do we hate her?
I think.
Like the general public, not me. And I don't like her very much. Poor Dorothy. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the primary newspapers covering her at the time was actually a very like political newspaper that was trying to highlight injustices. So a lot of the newspaper coverage was actually covering how different her case was covered than other cases, right? It was like, we're here too, but like, we're here to really highlight how important other cases about women are.
So like she's being treated so delicately.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But not necessarily so for the other women.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And I think the general public is like.
And we think that's because of her class.
Yes, so she's upper middle class.
Okay.
Right? And I think the general public is just like, what? Like, what is this story?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so everyone's crowding outside. This time, Dorothy enters the courtroom. She's unassisted this time, and she's dressed in black. Her face is hidden behind a heavy veil. How do you plead? The judge's associate asked her. Dorothy did not respond. How do you plead? He asked again. Her lips remained still. Say it, her lawyer whispered furiously, but Dorothy did not. She pleads not guilty, her lawyer said, speaking for the veiled woman.
Could she just not be bothered, or is she actually stressed?
I think she's actually stressed, right? And he's like trying to get her
just to say the words.
Say it,
yeah.
Right? Before the trial can properly begin, Dorothy's lawyer, Mr. Mack, made a formal request that the court make accommodations for Dorothy's comfort. Traditionally, defendants were seated inside the dock, which was an enclosed section of the courtroom, which was separated from counsel. Now they sit, usually in the U.S., I know, they sit with counsel. Mm-hmm. They sat in the dock. But it was eventually decided that Dorothy would not be held there. Instead, an armchair was brought in and placed beside her legal team, and this was a small but telling allowance for a woman whose presence in the courtroom continued to provoke all of this public fascination and debate.
Just more special treatment.
Yeah, so she gets a cushy armchair.
You sit where you want to sit in the comfiest chair.
Yeah. If not for a few key details, the proceedings might have just felt like a rehash of the coroner's inquest. Witness after witness was called to repeat the same testimony delivered a month earlier. So it's really a repeat, but in a different format. Several witnesses at the urging of the defense spoke, however, obliquely about the suicide of Dorothy's father. So they're trying to build the narrative of Dorothy's mental health. Now, her legal team wanted the jury to draw a connection between her mental state and that of her father's, but the truth was never fully told, at least in the newspaper. So I had to go back and dig to see, like, what was the father's story.
Okay, and we're using the story kind of as an excuse to her actions.
Well, it's to, like, place into context a continuation of mental health issues, right?
Okay.
Now, few accounts mention this incident that happened in 1913, so we're several years before this incident, right? And that's when William John Mackey Woodruff, he had returned from a mountain trip with his wife, and he suddenly attacked his wife and their adult son, Ronald, with the blunt end of an axe, fracturing both of their skulls. He was later found unclothed on the front lawn, bleeding from multiple self-inflicted razor wounds.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. So this happened at night.
And Dorothy wasn't there?
Dorothy wasn't there. She was already married.
Okay.
She got married in 1909. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So just a few years after. She's a pretty young woman still.
Exactly.
With little kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is happening at the family home. It's nighttime when the father attacks both his son and his wife. Mm-hmm. So they find him outside, right? And all three actually end up surviving. But the violence marked a catastrophic break in William's mental health. The resulting scandal and coverage of it drove Dorothy's parents to leave Australia, and they went to New Zealand.
She stayed with him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll call it the times.
Yeah. And then he ends up ending his life by suicide in 1919, right? So, yeah. Now, this full story and the implication for Dorothy's own unraveling was likely deemed too inflammatory for the jury to hear, but kind of this specter is happening. You know, Dorothy's father, his subsequent suicide in 1919, this is kind of like what's hanging over the trial. It's like the said part, right? Mm-hmm. But not all of the testimony is like carefully managed at the time. Like we have Arthur Shirley, which is this unusual addition to this trial. He is a motion picture producer, and he had first met Dorothy in September 1920.
So during the affair?
Yes.
Okay.
So the affair ends in December, and Dorothy said it's been going on for 5 months in one of her letters. So this is during the affair. Now, Arthur Shirley is in the middle of arranging a new film when she arrives at his office and asks if he might include her in the production. He told her the timing wasn't right. Still, she returned 2 or 3 more times. Each time, she spends about 20 or 30 minutes with him, and each time she's begging him for a role. Dorothy's desperation seemed in part a way to break free from her identities as a housewife and a mom of two. For his part, her dashing doctor seemed to encourage the pursuit. Arranging a meeting with her, Claude wrote to Dorothy. You're going to make fun of my French pronunciation, aren't you?
I won't. I promise not to. I mean, we're already calling Claude instead of Claude, which I really keep wanting to revert to just saying Claude. But
yeah, and I was like,
Claude.
I was like, no, I was like, Australia. I think he's English.
Yeah, he's Australian, right? Or is he English? He's English.
He's Australian, but like, I think.
But not of French descent.
Not of French descent.
Okay. Although he does use French words.
He does, but I think it's like a way to make him feel a little more cosmopolitan, right? Okay. I'm just going to stumble.
Because, like, what is the whole thing of it?
He's going to say, I'm going to proceed by foot.
Oh, by foot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would say au pied, but I don't know how he would say it.
Okay.
But I'm a Quebecer, and I probably say everything wrong.
Okay. I shall proceed au pied. Especially to see the costume made by your own clever fingers. Please don't overdo things at the studio because I'll let you into a secret. The only way this influenza kills, apart from doctor's errors, are 1, going to bed late, 2, getting up too early, 3, doing too much too early. The best of luck with the American producer. Smile on him sweetly and he must capitulate.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, spurred on by Claude's belief in her, Dorothy was resolute in her efforts to convince Arthur Shirley. Eventually, he relented, offering her a small part in an upcoming film and instructing her to arrive at 8 a.m. on the day of the shoot. So she's finally in.
Yeah.
But she protests.
Okay, so she got what she wanted, but now she doesn't want it?
She says it's too early.
Oh. Well, and he just finished telling her, like, her flu will kill her if she gets up too early.
Yes. So. The flu will kill her. I don't think she's not even sick, but
she doesn't have the flu.
Okay. Now, she protests. It's too early for her, and she's been having trouble sleeping. She did eventually show up late, though, and Shirley recalled that when he saw her, she seemed nervous and unsettled. There's 2 men following me, she whispered and glanced over her shoulder. They followed me all the way from home. Arthur looked around. They were alone. Are the men here now? He asked. Dorothy pointed to a chair. Over there, she said. We'll be back in a moment.
Okay, so she's hallucinating.
Apparently.
Huh. And this was before the murder.
Yep. So he turns around and the chair is, of course, empty.
Okay. So that's adding some new... We're not just depressed.
There's an extra layer
something
of
else there. So,
yeah.
Well, and her dad seemed to go beyond typical depression, too.
Yeah.
With his actions, so...
her father's...
So there's some other mental health issue in the family.
I think so, is my understanding. Yeah.
Something a lot more severe. Okay.
Now, also taking the stand this day is Mrs. Nellie Claire Mantello, who is a special constable assigned to Dorothy during her convalescence at the North Shore Hospital. Because remember, Dorothy was injured, and she's taken to recover. Now, Nellie is in charge of her during this time. And she recalls one particularly disturbing conversation with Dorothy. Did you ever have to shoot anyone? Dorothy asked her. No, Nellie replied. I did, Dorothy said without hesitation. If you ever want to shoot anyone, always use an automatic revolver. They never fail. They always shoot straight.
Yeah, that's weird.
She's giving advice to the policewoman?
Yeah.
Now, after that, Nellie testified, Dorothy did not stop talking. She seemed intent on unburdening herself. When he came into the room to see me, Dorothy began, my heart failed me. I couldn't do it. He looked so lovely. After a time, while we were sitting on the couch in the drawing room, I got a little present that I bought for him. While he was looking at it, I had the revolver in my dress at the back, and I took it out with my right hand. While he was looking at the present, I shot him in the back of the head, and I shot him again in the side of the head. Then I undid his waistcoat and shot him in the heart, and then buttoned up his waistcoat again. I know they were all fatal shots.
Then why do we need to keep shooting him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dorothy takes a pause, and then she says, I then sat down and wrote some letters and took some laudanum. Then I lay in his arms for 2 hours. Then I felt for my heart, put the revolver there, and pulled the trigger. I went into my bedroom after locking Dr. Tozier in the drawing room.
Okay, so that's how she got her wound.
Mm-hmm.
So was she actually making like an earnest effort to shoot herself?
I think so. I mean, you know, if you picture like what's happening, it's like she's in there.
And then she was drugged also, right? So
she's lying with his body for 2 hours. She takes the laudanum. I wonder if she thought that would have been enough.
Right.
And she lays next to him for 2 hours.
Oh, and then, so she was trying to like overdose and just like die in his arms.
Yeah. And then like if you like outside, you know, there's Florence who just keeps on being like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And she keeps on being like, I'm fine.
Well, she even told Poppy that.
Yeah.
Poor Poppy.
So Nellie concludes her testimony, and I'm assuming that if you were there that day, the courtroom would have fallen silent. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, here are the details that explain all the evidence from the scene. Like, there's the blood-stained kimono that was left beside him. Mm-hmm. There's a smear of blood on the couch beside his body. They were from Dorothy, who had just laid beside her murdered lover, waiting for death. But perhaps the most crushing blow to Dorothy came when Dr. Tozier's mother, Beatrice, took the stand once again. I mean, it was bad enough the first time. Mm-hmm. She was asked whether Claude had plans the evening of his murder. Yes, she said, he was going to go to a theater with a friend. The lady that he was engaged to? No, Beatrice said. My son was not engaged. Dorothy had believed that Claude had left her for another woman. She had believed that he was engaged, but it wasn't true. Claude Tozier had lied to her.
So why do we think that he would have done that?
My suspicion, I try not to like do too much theorizing, but not in this case because it's like so wild. I think that he wanted to break things off with Dorothy. Okay. But he had gotten, you know, like he had wanted sex from her.
So he wanted sex, but not a relationship. So at this point, he's just trying to end that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I get that impression. And so he says, like, I'm engaged, right?
This is an easy way out.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I would be with you, except it's too hard. And I must be married.
Right. For self-image and everything. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there's just no other woman.
And this is the first Dorothy's hearing of this?
I think so. I get that impression.
Okay.
Now, as both the Crown and Dorothy's defense team wrapped up, her lawyers made one final attempt to seed some doubt. They were contending with multiple confessions, but they didn't need to disprove them, only to suggest the possibility that things hadn't unfolded quite as they seemed. They suggested, what if Claude had been the one to fire the first shot? And Dorothy, so stricken by love, was still protecting him even in death. So that she's concocted this whole story to protect him, right?
Yeah.
Or if it had been Dorothy who pulled the trigger, perhaps Claude had exploited his role as her physician, taking advantage of a woman whose mental state made her particularly vulnerable.
Well, obviously, yes. One of those is right. One of those is not.
Uh-huh. Now, the jury deliberated for just under 2 hours. That's so quick. Before returning their verdict, not guilty on the grounds of insanity. This was a compromise that acknowledged that Dorothy had committed the act, but wasn't legally culpable for it. Still, the verdict ended up bringing very little reprieve.
And to a point, I think she really wasn't in her full mental state.
No. Like, we know that we had the person who testified that she was seeing people who weren't there, right?
Right.
We have, a family mental health history. We have ongoing, her husband brought in more help to like keep an eye on her.
Right. So there's definitely like the insanity thing. I could see.
Yeah.
Them going for that. Yeah.
Now, justice may have spared her a conviction, but it didn't offer her freedom. Dorothy wasn't sent home.
Okay.
Instead, she was remanded to Long Bay Reformatory at the governor's pleasure, which was an open-ended sentence that offered no guarantee of release. So she's still imprisoned.
But it's still, but the insanity thing and that she is dangerous.
Yeah. But
so what else could they do?
But it's also fascinating that, like, despite that the only place that they could send her was the reformatory, where they would have jailed.
It's the same place?
It's the same place.
Oh, okay. So it's not a different... so it's not like
No.
Like a place where she'd get more care or anything.
No. Yeah. Because Long Bay, yeah.
Huh. Okay, so either way, innocent or not, you're going to the same place.
Yeah, so like, Long Bay wasn't technically a prison, but like Dorothy was serving time alongside women who were sentenced from anything like petty crimes from drunkenness and theft to, which is like the overwhelming number of inmates who were there. But also some of the most notorious figures in New South Wales criminal history. So it's like the widest range.
Because like from the word reformatory, I wasn't sure if it was more of like an institution, but it's just still prison.
Yeah, so you have like these like kind of crime queens who were ruling the Sydney underworld, like Tilly Devine and Kate Lee. There's also a trans man named Henry Fellini who had been convicted of murdering his first wife. He's there.
Okay.
And compared to those names, like Dorothy might not have been the most sensational inmate, but her social standing offered her actually a level of comfort while she was there and privacy and leniency that most of the others that she was in there with were not granted.
So she's still in prison, but she's still getting kind of coddled.
Yeah, so it's like, again, not technically a prison, but like that's where other women who had killed people went. That's where...
Right.
Yeah.
So what is it? We call it a reformatory.
We call it a reformatory.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Dorothy, she never moved from her spot in the hospital infirmary. Like, that's how she had been sent to recover. Like, she just settled in there.
Okay.
And that allowed her a lot of distance from other women. Her room was furnished with a white bed and a bureau that held flowers and framed portraits of her children. There was a small screen that blocked the space from public view. So she just sat.
Like, it was actually decorated with her own furniture?
Yeah, they like brought in.
Oh.
She's like set. Now, over time, she actually becomes the unofficial librarian of Long Bay, and she spent her days reading and recommending books to others. Reports trickled into the press with titillating details that her preferred genre was dashing lover novels. I love that they called it that.
Dashing lover.
A detail, like the media linked with a thinly veiled judgment that sexual abnormality noted in her psychiatric evaluation.
Do we know what that meant?
I mean, it was really like that, like they're essentially saying like the abnormality was like cheating on her husband, right?
Oh, that's the abnormality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And like that this is somehow like this interest in sex and sexiness is like a flaw in her. Right?
Okay.
And part of like her mental health notes.
So she's obviously crazy because she likes men.
Apparently. Okay, among the other inmates, what stirred curiosity wasn't her reading material, it was her clothing. Still receiving a private income from her husband, Dorothy continued to wear like evening style dresses while there, and her hands were glittering with diamonds and other jewelry.
So she's just walking around in jewelry and nobody's... Like now, how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, there is often an economic disparity among inmates between like who has money for the commissary and who doesn't. But Dorothy was like, I mean, allowed to wear her.
And her husband is clearly an angel.
He is still funding her.
He is just funding her while she's in prison for killing a man she cheated on him with.
Yeah, like, can you imagine, like, also just being a fellow inmate there and, like, you're in, like, reformatory provided clothing and it's, like, rough and coarse and, like, colorless and there's Dorothy in her, quote, evening style gowns kind of swanning around and going to her, like, private screened off
room with the flowers in it.
Yeah.
Well, and then, so we've got another mugshot.
Yes.
I don't understand what's happening here.
Oh, so the first mugshot of Dorothy, like she looks tired and quite drawn, but then they take but
it's very clear. Like you can see her face. It's undeniably her entire face.
Yes. In her second mugshot, it's actually an interesting contrast because you can see like her bangs are grown out and they're hanging down in front of her eyes. Really, they're almost like at nose level.
They're definitely past her eyes.
Yeah.
And heading onto her cheeks.
And so you cannot see her eyes at all.
So, like, how is that even a proper mugshot? Like, they wouldn't be able to
recognize
her who that is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, she definitely had access to anything that she wanted. And so, like, this this mugshot of her where her face is obscured is an actual choice of hers, right?
Right, but it's also a choice of, like, whoever's taking this could have told her. Yeah, to allow this.
Move your hair, right?
Like, they should... If you are taking an actual mugshot of a criminal, you need to have that clear.
Yeah.
And they allowed this.
She was allowed this. So that mugshot is taken a little bit after. So let's get there. So,
okay.
Now, she has this kind of what I call a curated perch, right? And Dorothy's entertaining visitors at least once a fortnight. It was during these visits that various efforts were made to facilitate her release. Some were led by influential women and featured prominently in the papers throughout the 1920s, and there were petitions that were submitted and denied. A proposed transfer to a private hospital intended kind of as a stepping stone towards freedom was blocked. Right? So they had not sent her to a private facility before. They had sent her here. But slowly, support for her case grew, and a string of doctors testified to her sanity, and the state cabinet finally approved her release. On October 17th, 1929, nearly 9 years after the murder of Dr. Tozier, Dorothy Mort walked out of the Long Bay Reformatory and into the arms of her children and friends. A waiting motor car carried her away. After that, the press really lost interest in her. She left the public eye, she traveled abroad, and she eventually returned to Australia, where she resumed life with her husband. Dorothy Mort died in 1966 at the age of 80. Dorothy Mort's story is not one of doomed love, but a psychological collapse, I think. Mm-hmm. In the century since the Linfield tragedy, the public has struggled with how to categorize her: unstable housewife, manipulative lover, mentally ill killer. But the truth really kind of sits uncomfortably between kind of all those labels.
She is all of those things.
Yeah. Like, her crime, it was premeditated. She thought out her crime. Her behavior afterwards was calculated at times and kind of incoherent at others. She was a woman in crisis. She was driven by obsession, resentment, and delusion. But she was also shielded by her social status and the limits of how mental illness was understood at the time.
And her husband really, like he could have at any point stepped in and made this, I think, harder for her.
Yeah.
All of it.
He could have been like, nope.
He stood by her side, even taking her back. Like, yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, so I don't know, like, what it all means. Like, if we're rendering her not guilty by reason of insanity, when she continued to live in kind of this comfort and privilege, but then, like, she never received mental health care.
Which, I mean, of the time, I think is normal, right? Like,
well,
I mean, I guess nobody tried to, like, lobotomize her either, so.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
And, like, what are we going to make of this woman who was clearly unwell, but, like, still capable of plotting and deceiving and pulling the trigger? And that's why I said, like, Dorothy's case leaves behind, like, all these questions, which is not about, like, guilt or innocence, right? But, like, about how we perceive her. Who do we view as dangerous? Who do we see as fragile? Who gets to disappear back into private life once the headlines fade? And it's just, like, fascinating. It's like, there's so much about her, and then she's just gone, right?
And that's it. She's just gone and free to live kind of, like, a good life.
Yeah, and, like, I wouldn't have known about her story until I had stumbled upon those mugshots, and I was like curious, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who is this woman?
On the contrast between the two. So I would encourage you guys, if you're curious about those mugshots too, to visit GIRLHUNT so you can actually see all of the photos. They're, like, amazingly good quality too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know that then, like, it was, like, the large format and everything was good quality, but just, like, very well done. So
right. And so, like, it's part of a larger series that I'm working on. So I talk a little bit about the history of the mugshot in one. I talk about a woman named Minnie Bradley, who was a Black sex worker in Nebraska at the turn of the century. I talk about Phyllis Hume, who was, like, a contrast to Dorothy, and a few more are scattered in there. I plan to keep on them because, like, those mugshots are just so fascinating to me.
They really are.
Yeah. So if you would like to hear more of these on occasion, let us know. But if not, like, GIRLHUNT Media is your place to go for that. And we'll be back soon with more stories about missing and unidentified women, which our goal is to continue to highlight their stories, to get them heard, hopefully get more people knowing about their cases and spread awareness. So hit subscribe so that you can keep up with that and keep up with She Goes by Jane in the new year.
For more information about our show, please visit shegoesbyjanepodcast.com.
Bye, Vanessa.
Bye, Aimee.